Wonderful to have you back once more for an episode of the More People Podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Fitzmaurice, joined today by Lilidh Matthews. Lilidh, great to have you.
Thank you very much for having me.
So I'm going to embarrass you, first of all, because your introduction and your varied career, I have to try and sum up. And you can sum it up better and tell us more about what you've done.
I'd like to hear what you're going to say here.
But sometimes you introduce people and you say, this person, CEO, and it sells itself or explains itself. So I'm going to read your LinkedIn bio. Lilidh Matthews has worked in food production, fresh produce, agriculture, viticulture, most aspects of horticulture. Lilidh's roles have quite literally taken her from farm to fork, working for a tomato farm in Middlesbrough to the commercial horticulture team at Waitrose, and she has even worked in Malaysia with supermarket and e-commerce commercial experience across a variety of retailers, including garden centres. All of these experiences combined allow Lilidh to set the seed for her career. Sound fair enough?
It summarises it quite succinctly.
So what's your version? Tell us about what you've done and how you've arrived at this junction.
Well, I think that covers a lot of the different experiences. And for me, it was the breadth of the industry, which I absolutely love. I started in viticulture on a vineyard in Cornwall, and then went on to the MDS graduate scheme, which you covered with a lot of those roles there. Quality control in a tomato farm in Middlesbrough, working in Spalding in tropical fruit and marketing, and then in agricultural market research for GfK Kinetic as well. Quite a breadth of different things before then moving into the retail side of things. So working as an implant for Waitrose, working as a buyer for Wyville Garden Centres, and then as in e-commerce as well with primrose.co.uk.
Yeah, which is great. And that's kind of the point of MDS to begin with, isn't it? And we're big fans of MDS, but tell us more about MDS for those who don't know.
So MDS is a graduate scheme for those that are looking to gain full experience of the horticulture industry, and it will take you through technical roles, commercial roles, and roles across the industry to really get a good oversight. But it's very condensed. So over 2 years, you're put in 4 different placements, real jobs, and making a real impact, but very quick. So you have to learn on your feet and be able to adapt very quickly as well.
And the point of that in some regards is to give you exposure to things maybe you hadn't thought about, help you decide what you like and what you didn't like.
Yeah, so for me, I'm not from the industry. I've grown up in a very rural community. I'm surrounded by agriculture, but I'm not from a horticultural background. And so to be able to get that insight and have a really fast track across the whole of the industry was a great opportunity for me. I did geography as my undergrad, so the processes behind things and understanding how things work was really, really important for me.
So was it the fact that there's food courses at Reading the thing that drew you in to the sector, or the rural community, or just happenstance that MDS appeared?
Oh, it's absolutely the connection with the University of Reading. So I was going to go down a very different career path before, and then injured myself whilst at university and had to rethink what I was going to do. And as a result of that, I went to the agricultural conference at Reading University, and the chairman stood up and said, well, everyone has to eat. And I realised, oh my goodness, yes, that's exactly what is a stable career and an industry where you're going to make a difference as well. It's not the first thing that you're directed to when you're at a careers fair. And it was actually because MDS stood there at a careers fair and I went and had a chat with them. They said, apply, I did. And it was really interesting from the offset. The opportunities, the different organisations, the companies that I recognise, I eat most of the products. It just made a lot of sense.
And you had to move around for the placements? How far flung did you have to go?
So everywhere from Middlesbrough all the way to Malaysia. So it was a lot of movement. Every 6 months, I was moving to a different location.
So Middlesbrough or Malaysia?
Let me think about that one. The opportunity to experience different cultures was utterly incredible.
In Middlesbrough? Yeah. So then you went into buying?
Yes.
So tell us about your roles and experience within buying.
Yeah, so within the commercial team in Waitrose, and then I was buying the vegetable and herb category at Wyville Garden Centres, and then running the plant buying team at Primrose. So within all of them, great opportunities to really understand the industry and to get an understanding of data as well.
Do you now consider yourself, based on the Primrose and the Wyvale roles, a horticulturalist first?
Within my career, I've started off down the vineyard route, so going down the alcohol route, and then moved into the food production and looking at how plants can really impact the food systems. But what it comes down to at the very, very basics is that food are still plants. I didn't say that very well, but
No, it makes total sense. And we have that conversation oftentimes, because I think the word horticulture might mean something within these four walls, but to what extent the word horticulture is very well understood by the retail customer, I think means something totally different. And I asked the same question of the HTA, and we talked a lot about environmental horticulture where the HTA are concerned. We could talk to clients who work in glasshouses growing peppers and cucumbers, and they would consider themselves horticulturalists. You deal with plant growers or
I've
flower
covered each
people.
of those different sectors as well.
Yeah,
And I think that actually that they are all very much horticulture. It's just the different sides of the industry. It's interesting that the environmental horticulture side is considered very differently, and they have a different impact on the country as a whole that the food production side of the industry does. So there are different ambitions with that.
Yeah, it's a really good word, the ambitions of it, and how those agendas differ.
Agenda's probably a better word, yeah.
Well, I'm just not really sure that horticulture is necessarily the most helpful label, which might be an unpopular opinion. But I think if the agenda is to drive greater awareness across young people or, university entrants, I don't find it always helpful that word that we label things with is not actually well understood.
Yeah.
In an industry that already isn't very well understood or taken for granted, when the appreciation of the supply chains for some of these products, whether it's a bedding plant you buy in the Waitrose vestibule or a B&Q, or you buy a live basil, or you buy a bouquet of flowers or a tomato, they kind of all are a bit transferable. But
I think it goes back to that point where actually that's the point where the customer actually meets the product, and that's their insight into it. It's either in a supermarket or it's in a garden centre. And those two areas are so important to the industry as a viewing platform into the industry, because you don't see how hard the growers work behind the scenes and all the challenges behind the scenes with the weather and with other challenges that are put towards our industry. It's really important that those are the showcase of the industry.
We're going to have to touch upon another conversation starter with the word horticulture in it. Not that I'm vilifying the word horticulture, but the YPHA, we've talked about before on this podcast. So the Young People in Horticulture Association.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit more about your role and what that institution actually is?
So for me, the Young People in Horticulture Association is an incredible thing for this industry. I see it as something that is going to provide the future leaders for the whole of our industry. Anyone who's under 35 who works or trains in horticulture, it's a free membership for them to join, to be able to network with 1,200 members across the industry, all in retail, growing, supply chain. The difference of different roles is huge. We've got people that work in dye that can dye a pond a specific colour of blue, that will dye the pond but won't dye the swans, all the way through to people that are growing some of the rarest plants in the country as well. So specialist knowledge, but spread across the whole of the industry.
And how long have you been involved? What's your role?
So I joined in 2020. It first started with three founders, Molly Higginson, Natalie Porter and Liam Cleary. And I joined the committee 2021, I believe, looking at how I can connect the members with opportunities such as the bursaries, the funding that's coming into the industry, which ties into one of my other hats as RHS Bursaries committee as well. We work in such a welcoming industry, and there are so many people that are there to help you as well.
Yeah,
I just want to share that.
I couldn't agree more. And whilst I'm not young enough to actually be a member,
slight jealousy there, I can feel it.
Yeah, I felt like it was created on purpose, just with a level that was just a bit younger than I actually was at the time. But I've been lucky to know lots of the people that are in it at the moment. We've got some examples in the office of people who are members. And I've attended some events, and it does strike me as being such a supportive network where people have fun, but they actually benefit one another through their experiences, which is impressive from something that's come from nowhere. Lots of people have grand ideas on membership organizations or bodies they could create from scratch, but very few, I think, get properly off the ground. And it seems like this has got some momentum and some backing to be here for good.
Oh, and the fact that it is supported across the industry as well is testament to the good that it's doing. I think that it was obviously needed. We are in an aging industry, and we need to make sure that we maintain that knowledge within our industry and make sure that we have passionate people that will continue the legacies of those that have come before us.
And some of the other things you've been involved in, you've obviously got some entrepreneurial flair as well, but what next for Lilidh?
You'll see that I've started doing some writing, coming out in different publications, and one of the areas that I've been deep diving in is my link into digital technologies, born out of my time at Primrose, I suppose, and looking at the e-commerce side of things and really understanding that technology is the future. I suppose that's a buyer perspective as well, always looking for the future trends and how I can connect that in with the industry. That's something that I'm really doing a deep dive into at the moment in the digital technologies such as AI, robotics, and data as a buyer. What's the future for that in our industry? I'm quite excited for it. And I think that it's not as well understood yet as it could be. There is a huge potential for it. So I'm looking at how I can bridge that gap from the innovations that are coming through further into the industry.
Can you give us an insight? What's the world going to look like in 5 years' time?
I think it's going to change our career paths in a lot of ways. AI technology, in one of the most recent job reports at the beginning of this year, said that almost 22% of the population are going to be in very different roles. What does that mean? Does that mean that actually we're going to lose people? I think it really just means that we need to be able to learn and unlearn what we know and be adaptable.
I think we use the same phrase in the business here. I'm not fearful, particularly of AI in recruitment, because I think the personal touch and how hard we work can't easily be replicated. But the phrase that's trotted around is if your role can be done by AI, then you might not have a role. If you can't find another value, you'll have to do something different.
I think that you'll always need the human touch in every single role, but people will also need to be able to understand that AI is a tool. It's not going to replace you because there is still that human touch necessary, but it will speed things up.
It's definitely going to be a journey to embrace, and all the guests that we've had that have had a reason to talk about AI, I think, approach it in exactly the same way. There'll still be a need for people to interact and do roles. Yes, the roles might change, but we're not all going to be out of work, replaced by robots, are we?
No, we'll make sure of that.
Good. Let's end on that note. Thanks, Lilidh.
Thank you very much for having me.